Halfway through slicing the cake, I heard the front door click open behind me. I didn't turn right away. The knife was sticky with fudge icing, and my cousin Tyler had just started singing an off-key version of Happy Birthday. But something about the hush that followed, fast, unnatural, froze my hand mid-slice. I wiped the knife on a paper towel and turned. That's when I saw him. Eli, my best friend since 5th grade, standing in the doorway with his hands shoved in his jacket pockets and the one person he'd sworn he'd never date standing next to him, smiling like she belonged there. Savannah Lane. It was supposed to be a small thing, just a backyard hangout with a Costco cake and a few chairs around the fire pit. 29 wasn't a milestone, and I didn't have the energy or budget to fake like it was, so I kept the guest list tight: family, coworkers I actually liked, and Eli. Eli had been a fixture in every chapter of my life since Mrs. Dunker's class when we bonded over a shared hatred of long division. He was the one who helped me move out after my first breakup, the guy who stood behind me at my mom's funeral like he was holding up the sky, the one friend I never had to explain myself to. And Savannah, she was the opposite of that. She was sharp angles and louder than necessary laughter, the kind of person who talked with her hands and seemed to always be performing for an invisible camera crew. We met her at the same time during one of those rooftop trivia nights last summer. She was on another team. Eli flirted for half the night, only to come back to our side after a few drinks and say, "She's fun, but she's not my type. No way I'd ever date her." He said it with that trademark Eli certainty, the same tone he used when he swore LeBron was overrated or that pineapple on pizza should be illegal. And yet here he was. And here she was. At my birthday, uninvited, holding his hand. "What's up, birthday boy?" Eli said, trying for casual. I glanced down at their intertwined fingers and then back up. "Hey," I managed, keeping my tone neutral. "Didn't know you were bringing someone." He winced just for a split second, but Savannah jumped in like the moment hadn't already crashed through the middle of the party. "Oh, come on, we figured a surprise +1 would spice things up. It's not like I'm a stranger." Technically, she was, but she wasn't a friend either, and she sure as hell wasn't supposed to be Eli's girlfriend, especially not after everything. I forced a smile. "Glad you could make it." Savannah beamed, completely unfazed. Eli looked like he wanted to crawl into the cooler and shut the lid. Later, I pulled him aside near the garage, away from the music and chatter. "Seriously," I asked, arms crossed, "you brought her here?" Eli exhaled like he'd been holding it all day. "I didn't plan on it. We ran into each other last month at the farmer's market, started talking again. It just happened." "You said you'd never." "I know what I said." He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes darting. "But things change, man, people change." "No," I said, "she doesn't. You just stopped caring." That landed. I watched the guilt ripple across his face, but instead of owning it, he deflected like always. "Come on, it's your birthday. Don't make this a thing." I didn't answer, not right away. I just looked at him, really looked, and realized that somewhere between trivia nights and funerals and fire pit beers, Eli had started rewriting the rules without telling me. Savannah floated through the party like it was hers. She complimented my aunt's earrings, laughed too loud at my dad's old stories, and took a selfie with the cake before I even got a slice. I tried to keep my cool. I really did. But every time I saw her brush Eli's arm or whisper something in his ear, it felt like a push. Not a shove, just a push, but enough to move the ground beneath me. I kept catching my cousin Tyler looking between us, confused. I told him once, after a few too many drinks, what had really happened with Savannah. He didn't say anything, just raised his eyebrows like, "You sure?" The thing was, it wasn't just that Eli was dating her, it was that he knew. He knew she was the one who spread that rumor at work about me and my coworker Janine back when I just started at the firm. He knew that after Savannah started volunteering in our department, somehow my name ended up in every wrong kind of conversation. HR even called me in once. I nearly lost that job. And after it blew over, she smiled like nothing happened, swore she didn't know it had gotten that far, claimed it wasn't her fault. But Eli had been the one who talked me down after that meeting, the one who helped me rebuild my name at the firm, the one who told me, "Anyone who messes with you, messes with me." Now he was dating her, holding her hand at my party, kissing her cheek like he'd forgotten who she was. By the time most of the guests had left, the air had that late-night chill and the fire pit was down to embers. I was tossing plates in the bin when Savannah came up beside me with her cup of wine. "This was fun," she said. "Glad you enjoyed yourself," I said without looking up. She leaned in a little. "You don't have to hate me forever, you know." I froze. "I don't hate you." "Could have fooled me," she smiled like she had me cornered. "But hey, if you ever want to talk, I'm around." I didn't reply. Because what could I say? Sorry you nearly wrecked my life and now you're dating my best friend. Instead, I waited for her footsteps to fade and went back to scraping frosting off the table. Eli didn't say goodbye when they left, just nodded from across the yard like we were coworkers who'd shared an elevator. I watched them walk to his car, her heels clicking against the concrete, his shoulders slightly hunched like he already regretted it. But regret doesn't erase a decision. And some decisions burn longer than birthday candles. He said he'd never date her, then brought her to my birthday party. 2 days later, he finally texted, "Lee, you free to grab a beer or something?" I stared at the message longer than I should have, not because I didn't know how to respond, but because part of me had already started rehearsing the fight. I didn't want to fight him, I just wanted him to see it. See what it looked like from where I stood, knife in hand, cutting cake for a crowd while he walked in with the one person I'd told him had made my life hell. But I said yes. We met at our usual place, Miller's Tavern, off the frontage road. Eli was already at the bar when I arrived, drumming his fingers against the condensation ring on a tall glass of beer. He didn't wave when I walked in, just looked up like a kid waiting to be scolded. I took the stool beside him. Neither of us spoke for a few minutes. Then he said, "You're pissed." I didn't deny it, you think. He ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I get it. I screwed up bringing her. That was dumb. I should have asked." I exhaled. "It's not just that you brought her, it's that you're with her." Eli looked away. "She made me look like a creep at work, Eli," I said. "She nearly got me fired. You were there. You saw it happen." "I did," he nodded slowly, "but I don't think she meant it." I blinked. "Are you serious?" "She told me she didn't know how far it went, that she was venting, not trying to start anything, that she didn't mean to drag your name into it." "Right," I said bitterly. "She vented to 3 people who all somehow ended up in HR. She apologized, man. To you, not to me." Eli was quiet again. I could hear the sound of the jukebox behind us cycling to some classic rock track, probably Zeppelin. The bartender set a whiskey in front of me. I didn't touch it. "You believe her?" I asked. He hesitated, and that was my answer. "Look," he said, "I like her. I didn't expect to, but she's not who I thought she was." "No, she is," I said. "You just decided that doesn't matter anymore." That night, I lay in bed, phone screen dim beside me, replaying everything. The way Savannah had smiled at my family like she was owed a place at the table. The way Eli had defended her, almost like he was talking himself into it more than talking to me. I pulled up an old photo, me and Eli at Lake Cumberland, beers in hand, sunburned and half laughing. That was 3 years ago, right before I switched departments and Savannah showed up, before things got weird, before everything started bending and twisting in quiet ways that I didn't notice until it cracked. The next time I saw Eli, it wasn't planned. I was walking out of the grocery store when I saw his car in the lot, parked crooked across 2 lines. Classic Eli move. I almost didn't stop, but something pulled me toward the entrance again. There they were by the self-checkout. She was scanning a bottle of wine and some frozen garlic bread. He stood next to her, scrolling his phone. And then she laughed, loud, open-mouthed, fake. The same laugh she used at work when she was trying to charm the interns. I don't know why, but I turned and left. Didn't even stop at my car, just walked 2 blocks up to the bus stop and sat there with my groceries until my legs stopped shaking. That week I told Tyler everything. We were grabbing burgers after a shift. He'd been helping me with some freelance projects since I left my last job. We were sitting in the booth with greasy hands and half-finished milkshakes when I finally said it out loud. "I think I'm done." He looked up. "With what?" "With Eli." Tyler didn't say anything for a minute. Then, "Yeah, I figured that was coming." "You did. Man, you've been different since that party, like someone yanked your batteries out." I picked at the edge of my fry basket. "You always said he was like a brother," Tyler continued, "but brothers don't do that, not if they really know you." "He does know me." Then he knew it had hurt. A few days later, I got an email from HR at my old job. Nothing serious, just a follow-up to close the file on my previous complaint from last year. I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. I clicked. Inside was a note from my old supervisor, copied to legal, outlining a conversation they'd had with Savannah when the rumors first started. It wasn't vague. She named me directly. She said I'd made her feel uncomfortable and overly familiar, even though we'd never interacted outside group meetings. She said I hovered near her desk and lingered after team lunches. None of it was true, and she never retracted it. Eli knew he'd known, and still he brought her to my birthday. I didn't confront him, not then. What would it have done? He would have said he already knew. He would have said it didn't change how he felt about her. He might have even said he believed her version. Instead, I just stopped reaching out. I didn't answer his "you good" texts. I didn't like his Instagram photo when he posted a pic of him and Savannah at a vineyard with the caption "Unexpected Turns." I just let the silence do what words couldn't. A few weeks passed, then one day I opened my mailbox and found a manila envelope with no return address. Inside were 4 printed photos. One was me and Eli at my mom's old house, sitting on the roof with a six-pack. One was from the camping trip with Tyler and my cousins, with Eli holding a fish way too close to the camera. One was from Eli's birthday 2 years ago. I was giving a toast, and he was mid-laugh. And one was from my birthday this year, the party, the cake, and in the background, blurry but visible, was Savannah kissing Eli's cheek. There was a note tucked inside, just one line. "You changed too." I didn't recognize the handwriting. He said he'd never date her, then brought her to my birthday party. I kept the envelope for a few days before telling anyone. At first, I thought it was a prank, maybe Tyler trying to break the tension, maybe one of my old coworkers who still followed the fallout like it was a reality show. But the photos were personal, too personal. Whoever sent them had access to memories I'd forgotten we even captured. I flipped the "you changed too" note over a dozen times like it might reveal more under the light. It didn't, just the ink, thick and slanted. Someone meant it to sting. And the thing was, it did. By the following week, I'd turned 30. No party this time, no drinks, just a quiet dinner with my dad at a sushi spot we both liked. He was halfway through his second beer when he brought up Eli. "You two still not talking?" I shrugged. "We're not talking, I just stopped reaching out." Dad raised an eyebrow. "You ever think about why?" "Why what?" "Why you feel so betrayed? I mean, I get it, she's awful, but Eli, been your guy since you were, what, 10? 11. So maybe that's why it hurts more, because you expected better." I didn't answer. I knew he was right. The thing that burned wasn't just that Eli dated her. It was that I thought I was safe with him. I thought he was the one person who'd never pick someone else over me. But he had. And he didn't even flinch when he did it. Tyler invited me to a bonfire a few nights later. His backyard, a cooler full of drinks, Bluetooth speaker playing old Paramore songs. The fire cracked bright and warm while everyone stood in clusters, laughing about stuff I hadn't been around for lately. I was halfway through a beer when Tyler came over. "You know he's not coming, right?" I looked at him. "Who?" "Eli." I blinked. I didn't ask. "Good," he said, "because I didn't invite him." I stared into the fire. Tyler sat beside me, silent for a few beats. "He's not who he used to be," he said. "Neither are you." "That's the part that gets me," I said quietly, "because he is still him. He's still funny, still smart, still the guy who helped me move my mom's couch up 3 flights of stairs without complaining." Tyler tilted his head. "Then maybe that's the problem. He's still him, but maybe you're not." I didn't sleep much that night. I kept thinking about the photos, about how someone took the time to print them, to choose those moments, to write that note. Whoever sent them wasn't trying to scare me, they were trying to remind me. But of what? Of who I used to be, who Eli and I used to be together. Or that I'd changed in ways I didn't want to admit. The next weekend, I ran into Janine. We were both at the same Saturday morning market. She was standing by the honey stand with a paper coffee cup in hand. I almost walked past her. But she saw me first. "Hey," she said, hesitant. "Hey." We hadn't really talked since she left the firm. I'd heard she moved departments somewhere quieter. I didn't blame her. "You look good," she said. "You too." A pause. Then she added, "I heard about Eli and Savannah." Of course she had. "Yeah," I said, "it's complicated." "No, it's not," she said bluntly. "It's messed up. You deserved better." I wasn't ready for that, for the anger in her voice, like she was carrying some of mine along with hers. "She said things about me too," Janine added, softer this time. "Not as bad, but enough." I looked at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" She shrugged. "I figured you were already carrying enough, and after the HR mess, I didn't want to be the reason things got worse for you." "You were." "I know that now." We stood in silence while a couple brushed past us carrying jars of pickles and hand-woven baskets. Then she said, "If you ever want to talk, I'm around." This time I believed it. I went home and pulled out the photos again. Laid them out in a line on the kitchen table. It hit me that I wasn't angry anymore, not like I'd been. What I felt now was something colder. Sadder, like the version of Eli I loved, the one who would have fought for me without blinking, was still frozen in those pictures, while the real version was out somewhere kissing Savannah in front of sunsets and pretending we never shared anything deeper than a few beers. "You changed too," the note had said. And maybe I had. I just wasn't sure if I was ready to admit that changing didn't always mean healing. That night, I did something I hadn't done in a while. I opened our old group chat. It used to be active every day, me, Eli, Tyler, and this guy Kyle we'd worked with at the bookstore in college. Lately it was just memes and the occasional birthday wish. I scrolled back. Way back. Past the bachelor party planning threads, past the bar fights and concert clips and what are we doing tonight loops. There was a message from Eli years ago after I lost that HR case. "Eli, you don't have to prove anything to anyone, least of all her. I've got you." I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then I screenshotted it. Then I closed the chat. The next morning, I saw Eli's car parked outside my apartment building. I watched him from the window. He didn't get out, just sat there, engine running, lights off, like he was waiting for something. After 10 minutes, he drove off. He didn't text. He didn't call. But I knew he wanted to. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for not reaching back. He said he'd never date her, then brought her to my birthday party. 2 weeks passed without a word from Eli. I deleted the screenshot from our old group chat. Not out of spite, not out of anger. Just clarity. It was a memory, a good one, sure, but memories are like glass, nice to look at until you try to carry them around too long and they start cutting you. Tyler and I picked up a new freelance gig, branding work for a startup bakery. It was nothing glamorous, but it gave me something to do, something that wasn't about Eli or Savannah or the ache of rewiring your life without the one person you thought was permanent. One morning, while editing mock-ups, Tyler looked up and said, "You ever think he'll come around?" I didn't even ask who he meant. "No," I said, and I think I'm finally okay with that. Tyler nodded. "Good, because you didn't lose a brother, he just stopped acting like one." Then came the message. A full month since my birthday. Late Saturday night, I was half asleep on the couch, a documentary playing in the background when my phone buzzed. At least she lied about everything. I sat up. There was a follow-up a minute later. "Eli, I don't know how to fix this." I stared at the screen. I didn't reply. Not that night. Not the next morning either. I just let it sit there like a ticking clock with no alarm. Monday afternoon, I got a call from Janine. She never called. "Did you hear?" she asked. I got a text from him. "He told me Savannah finally admitted it," she said. "About the HR stuff, about using his name to back up her lies. Said she only confessed because he caught her trying to twist another story, this time about someone else." "Sounds like her," I muttered. "He's wrecked apparently." "Yeah, well, he might try to reach out." "He already did." Janine paused. "What are you gonna do?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. That night, I sat on the porch with a beer and an old spiral notebook I used to keep lyrics in. I wasn't a musician, never had been, but I used to scribble verses when my head got too full. That stopped around the time Savannah showed up in our lives. I flipped through the pages, not really reading, just tracing the pen lines like they were maps I didn't know how to follow anymore. And I thought about how betrayal never lands all at once. It comes in pieces. The first piece was Eli brushing off my warning about Savannah. The second was him defending her. The third was her standing in my yard, smiling at my family like she hadn't burned a hole through my career. And the fourth, maybe the sharpest, was him finally realizing I was right, but only because she turned the fire toward someone he cared about. He called me the next day. I let it ring out. Then he texted, "Illy, I know I messed up, but I didn't just lose her. I lost you too, did I?" I replied after half an hour. "Me, yeah." There was a long pause, then, "Illy, can we talk?" I stared at the message. Then typed, "Me, not yet, maybe not ever. I'm still figuring that out." He didn't push, didn't beg. Just sent one last message. "Illy, if it means anything, I never stopped thinking of you as my brother, even when I didn't act like it." The weirdest part about loss is how invisible it becomes. There's no funeral for a friendship, no obituary for a bond. Just a series of texts and moments you don't share anymore. I didn't know if I'd ever talk to Eli again. I didn't know if forgiveness was something I wanted, or just something I felt obligated to carry around like a half-charged battery. What I did know was that I wasn't the same person who stood at that fire pit, icing on my knuckles, watching two people walk into my life like they hadn't broken it before. I wasn't angry anymore. But I wasn't healed either. And maybe that's okay. The last thing I did before bed was open the envelope of photos one more time. I laid them out again, one by one. And then I added something new to the table, a recent Polaroid Tyler had taken of me at the bakery job, laughing at a pun on a cupcake sign I designed. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't dramatic. But it was mine. He said he'd never date her, then brought her to my birthday party. I hadn't planned on running into him again. But life's funny like that. It was a Thursday, early evening, one of those weirdly warm spring days where the sun hangs around like it forgot it's supposed to set. I just finished a client consult across town and decided to grab dinner at a taco spot Tyler had recommended. Quiet, low-key, the kind of place Eli and I used to hit back when we were broke and bored and trying to stretch our weekends past Sunday night. I walked in, scanned the booths, and there he was. Alone. No Savannah, no crowd. Just Eli sitting with a glass of water, notebook open, head down like he'd been waiting for someone who never showed. He looked up at the same time I froze. We locked eyes. Neither of us looked away. I thought about walking out, just pivot, take my appetite and dignity elsewhere. But then he stood up. Slowly, no rush, no guilt-tracked apology face, just honest. He nodded toward the seat across from him. I hesitated. Then I sat. No hug, no handshake, just space and silence. After a moment he said, "I didn't think you'd stop." I took a sip of the water the server brought. I almost didn't. He tapped his pen against the edge of his notebook. "I come here sometimes, alone, figured if I ran into you again, it'd be like this." Random. Earned. I blinked. What? I knew I couldn't ask for a real conversation, not after what I did, so if you ever walked into the same room as me and didn't walk back out, I'd take that as a start. The food came. I didn't remember ordering. Neither of us touched it for a while. Then he said, "She's gone." I didn't react. He added, "Left a couple weeks ago, no explanation, just gone." Surprised. "No," he said deadpan, "she started showing me who she was. I just waited too long to believe it." I raised an eyebrow, and me, did I ever stop showing you who I was? He looked like I'd slapped him. "No," he said quietly, "you never did." We sat with that. "I saw the note," I said finally, "the one in the envelope. You changed too, that from you." He shook his head. "No, but I got one too." "What?" He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded paper. Old, creased at the edges. He slid it across the table. It read, "Some bridges burn slow, you're standing on one." No signature, no hint. "I got that 2 days after I left the birthday party," he said. No idea who sent it. I stared at the note, same slanted handwriting, same thick black ink. Someone had been watching both of us. Not out of malice, but to hold up a mirror. We finished our food in silence. No big speech, no dramatic reconciliation. When the check came, he reached for it. I stopped him. No, I said, this one's mine. He smiled faintly. You sure? I nodded, consider it my parting gift. He flinched and looked down. So this is it? I shrugged. I don't know. He looked like he wanted to ask for another chance, to go back to how things were before. But he didn't. Instead, he said something I hadn't expected. I didn't just let you down, I betrayed what we built. I said nothing. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued, but I'm gonna earn your respect back even if we never sit at the same table again. I looked him in the eye. And for the first time in a long while, I saw him again. Not the version twisted up in someone else's story. Just Eli. And maybe that was enough. We left the restaurant without making plans to meet again. I walked to my car under the hum of streetlights, a spring breeze pulling at my sleeves. I didn't feel fixed. I didn't feel whole. But I felt real. And that was a start. Back home, I pulled out the envelope with the photos. I added the taco receipt to the stack. Then sealed it shut. Labeled it with a Sharpie. The year I let go. And I slid it into the back of my closet, not to forget, but to remember how far I'd come from the version of me who stood with a frosting-covered knife and a gut full of betrayal. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one. ChatGPT.